Well, hello there. My name is Joel Prentice, aka the G.I. Joel, and today is Wednesday, which means it is New Comic Book Day. And before we get into my reviews and thoughts on some of this week's hottest new titles, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification so you don't miss any future updates or episodes. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump into this week's hot new books. We're going to start off with my one indie title for this week from Image Comics. We have Primordial, issue number 3. So 3 issues deep into this series right now. I've been reading it since it first came out, and I gotta say, this is everything I want in a comic book, everything I want in a great story, and more, right? Because we have some fantastic artwork from Andrea Sorrentino. I'm a big fan of historical fiction, I'm a big fan of sci-fi, and this book is a great mixture of those two things. We get kind of what's happening to the animals that are in space, as well as all the stuff that's happening down on Earth with our main characters, right? So there's also this great kind of spy noir, kind of cloak and dagger feeling to it as well, to kind of set next to this crazy, trippy space stuff that's happening to these animals, and it's been a really fun story. We're 3 issues in. Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino are a fantastic, dynamic, creative duo. If you haven't read anything from them before, I definitely recommend checking out Gideon Falls. That's one of the series that they're probably best known for, but Primordial is another great read, and you can shop all those titles from Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino down in the description below at gtxcomics.com. But yeah, definitely worth checking these out, giving them a read. I really enjoyed this series. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Primordial issue number 3 out now. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to check out this entire series, and I promise you will not regret it. I mean, to say that the artwork was incredible, there were literally a couple of pages that left me absolutely speechless, as you can see from these panels that I'm sharing with you. It is definitely worth reading. I highly recommend checking out Primordial today. All right, so next up, we're going to jump into some of the titles from the big 2. Starting off with Marvel Comics, we have Shang-Chi, issue number 6. And this series has been a lot of fun. I was not super familiar with the comic book version of Shang-Chi prior to his series that came out last year, which is actually volume 1 to this currently running series. It's the first 5 issues, kind of establishing the new Shang-Chi lore and story, right? They changed up some things from his past. They changed up some of his origin. And, in these last couple of issues, we've really been diving in and exploring Shang-Chi's little corner of the Marvel Universe. And I got to say that this series is the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's got a great blend of action. It's got a great kind of spy thriller feeling to it all as well, with like the House of the Deadly Hand and, the 5 Weapons Society and, the Avengers and everything. And Shang-Chi kind of fighting his way through the Marvel Universe is really cool. But yeah, Shang-Chi issue number 6, definitely, it's a still good jumping on point. This issue, like all the other ones before, do a really great job of kind of giving you the synopsis of everything that is happening. If you want to go back and read Shang-Chi volume 1, Brothers and Sisters, you can shop that as well at gtxcomics.com. Both worth checking out. If you want to get to know Shang-Chi, if you liked his movie, this one is for you. And next up from Marvel Comics, we have Moon Knight, issue number 5. So the real standout part of this series for me continues to be the artwork. I absolutely love every page of it. One of the things I believe I've mentioned before, they actually aren't illustrating Moon Knight. They're essentially just leaving that part of the page white, right? They're not coloring it in, which I think is like a cool thing to know, because it really makes him pop. It really makes him, anytime that Moon Knight is in the panel or Mr. Knight is in the panel, your eyes are really just drawn right to him, and he tends to be the center focus, and I'm really enjoying that. And we are starting to get a little bit more of like what the story is going to be, at least for this this next arc. We finally get our villain kind of rolled out with us. We're starting to get a little bit more exploration in there. Not a whole lot happening in the plot on this one, isn't super eventful, but what I'm really enjoying is we are kind of getting a juxtaposition of Moon Knight, dressed as Mr. Knight in therapy, next to pages where he's out fighting crime at night. And we're really getting to explore the character in an interesting way, learn new things about the character, learn what makes Moon Knight, right? Why does he do what he does? Why does he continue to serve Khonshu after everything that happened with the Avengers, after everything that's happened in all of his previous runs, right? Why does Moon Knight continue to serve Khonshu? And we really kind of dive into that in this issue, and I'm really loving that juxtaposition, like I said, him in therapy, and then the next page is him out fighting crime, and it's really saying a lot about his character, especially that we never see his face, it seems like. He's always in his mask. He's even in his Mr. Knight suit and everything and get up while he's in therapy. And I think that speaks a lot to the character and has a lot of really interesting implications as to the psyche of Mark Spector. So I'm really enjoying this series. It definitely was a surprise to me how much I'm enjoying it. But yeah, Moon Knight issue number 5 of this current series, available down at gtxcomics.com. This is a hot series, so it does sell rather quickly. So definitely try to get a copy while you can. But yeah, Moon Knight, still another good jumping on point if you want to get involved in this series. It's not too late to join in and start reading along with it. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Right, next we're going to change up gears a little bit and head over to DC Comics. I got a bunch of hot new issues from DC I was able to get in and read before making this video today. And we're going to start off with Nightwing number 86. So this current Nightwing series by Tom Taylor has been great. This issue is a continuation of Fear State. It is the final issue of the Fear State tie-in and story arc. So really not much else to say about that one, right? We had some good action. It was a fun read overall. The art continues to be fantastic. Didn't really dive too much into the character, and it's still kind of setting up a couple of loose ends for us to explore once we get back into the main continuity of this series. The next issue number 87, should be a good jumping on point if you want to get involved with Nightwing. But yeah, overall, this was another Fear State tie-in, so I honestly thought that Fear State was over. I'm not reading any other Batman titles besides Nightwing, so I didn't realize Fear State was still going on. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out if you want to jump in at issue 86 or issue 87. Both are great entry points for this ongoing Nightwing series. And then next up from DC Comics, we have the much anticipated and actually fan selected through votes on, I believe it was Twitter, we have Robbins issue number 1. If you're a longtime fan of Batman or a longtime fan of any of the Robin characters, you're really going to enjoy this comic. There was a lot of callbacks and Easter eggs and everything like that. Overall on the history of the regular continuity Robins, Steffi Brown, Damian Wayne, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, right? We had to have a moment of all of them together and really kind of getting some overviews on their characters. But yeah, this is a 6-issue miniseries. It's a great entry point too if you want to get to know the Robins, or like I said, if you are already pretty familiar with them, you should enjoy this one. Overall, it's a first issue, so it's kind of hard to make a judgment call based on an issue number 1 for a 6-issue miniseries. But I'm a longtime Batman fan, so I enjoyed some of the stuff that they were talking about and some of the stuff that they shared. And it's cool to see the Robins kind of stand alone without Batman. But he still ends up being kind of like a dominating force in the story, it seems like. But yeah, definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Robin, if you're a fan of any of the Robin characters, or a longtime Batman fan, a longtime history fan of the character. Definitely be sure to check out Robins issue number 1, available now at gtxcomics.com. And last but certainly not least, we have the issue that has caused a large amount of controversy both within and outside of the comic book community. We have Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue number 5. Yeah, this issue has been what everyone, it seems, has been talking about for the last couple of weeks with this big controversial kiss, and honestly, it was a super small part of the story. So if you made it to this part of the video, if you're thinking about reading Superman, or if you're kind of turned off to the Superman title because of this, it's really not a big part of the story. It's one panel, and it's at the end of the book, and it's not a super big reveal if you've been reading this series, and it really doesn't change anything at all through the story, right? You see this coming a mile off. They've been foreshadowing it since like the 2nd issue, but really wasn't that big of a deal. Overall, this issue kind of felt like a filler episode. Really nothing else happened, right, besides this like big kiss moment that everyone's been talking about. John Kent getting confirmed as bisexual and everything. But yeah, that also means it's a good entry point if you want to get into Superman, if you want to start reading this title. Issue 5, I'm sure they kind of designed it that way, knowing that this issue would get the media exposure that it has and everything. This can be a good jumping on point. Not a whole lot happened, not a whole lot has changed. This was kind of like a treading water issue to kind of close off this last part of the arc that we're in. But that also makes it a great entry point if you want to start reading Superman, Son of Kal-El. Issue number 5 is a great entry point. But yeah, overall, it was a fine issue. Not a whole lot happening. That series has been pretty good from Tom Taylor. If you're a fan of Tom Taylor, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Yeah, that is it for this week's comics. Super stoked on some of the stuff I got to read this week. If you're wondering what my pick of the week is, it is definitely Primordial issue number 3. If you are not reading that title, I am telling you, you are missing out big time. It is going to be a hot book, I'm sure. It is fantastic, and I'm loving every minute of it. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, what did you get this week? What are you going to be reading? I would love for a chance to connect with you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notifications so you don't miss any future updates or episodes, and I'll see you later.